Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to the Monster Report live here in the new office, the new studio, home of the Monster Report here. And the Monster Report's a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history. Your host, Nick Adam Poling here. So glad to have you tonight. And we're going to have a guest on here that I've had on before and very honored to bring him on. But before we get to that, we want to make sure that you're liking this stream that we've got here. Join in on the chat, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter, all those great things. And you definitely want to follow along with my guest today because there's like a lot of great, cool stuff, cool content coming out of what he's got in his artwork. And I'm very honored to bring on to this stream Mr. John Bellotti Jr., Robo7. How you been, man?
I've been okay, man. Obviously, I've been a little busy with a few little things I have going on. Been doing all right. You say hi to Peanut back there? My cat.
Peanut's the silhouetted cat.
Yeah, that black thing.
She blends in really well.
Yeah, you'll see. She'll jump off and then you see the tail run across. I'm just giving you a warning, but it's fine. She's great. She loves all this stuff.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah. We're a big fan of the cats here at our house too. And if you ever see Everett, my buddy Godzilla Fan Freaks, his cat always makes appearances during his streams too. Mine might, but she's got that cone head thing going on, so she can't scratch. She might be embarrassed to be on the stream. So we'll see. But anyways, very glad to have you on. We've had you on in the past. And what's cool now is to bring up some of the new officially licensed merch that you've got and artwork that's going on with you. And we've got in the chat, Chris Olio, Seismic Toys. It was there, then it wasn't. Okay, there we go. Seismic Toys, which I know you've done some header cards, right?
I did, and we also have an officially licensed Ultraman Sofubi toy that we got approved, and it's going to be hopefully released. Chris, don't yell at me. We're looking at late summer, early fall, but we'll see. I have to talk to Chris and them about it, but yeah, we're really excited about it. So we have a lot of Ultra stuff coming out.
So stay tuned for the Ultraman fan out there. There's some cool stuff coming out. So that is very awesome. And so, yeah, what does it, take to... we had Jeff Gomez on recently, and of course I've had Chris on talking about, officially licensed products that you can get, in touch with Subaraya Productions. And, obviously Jeff Gomez got us the Fathom event for Shin Ultraman. So Ultraman's, very, in the news recently. And of course we have the new Shin Kamen Rider. I haven't had the chance to see yet, but so the television shows that we were getting from Japan, the superheroes, big on the big screen, which is really cool to see. And so Bemular will be great. Is that was that the trade secret that maybe was to come out?
Yes.
Okay. I hope you heard it first here. So Bemular, awesome. Very cool. So yeah, what is it? I guess when it comes to officially licensed that you've got here with the Ultraman merch and all that, what kind of hoops do you have to jump through without giving away too many secrets? But tell me, is it complicated? Is there a lot of micromanaging that goes on?
Yes to all those things. I don't know. It's my first foray into doing licensed stuff because I've always done commission work, and I've dealt with clients that have been a little picky, a little finicky. This is a whole new level of that, and respectfully so, because it's their baby, and Ultraman to Subaraya is like Superman to Warner Brothers or DC Comics. So when I submitted my first Ultraman design, they came back with 13 pages of changes to make for that piece alone. That took me several weeks to make changes. Yeah. It was like I did the wrong Zarab, and I had to change the color of one character. It was because I have a ton of kaiju on there. They wanted me to change Zeton and Baltan. That was a lot. That was definitely a little stressful. By the time I got to Ultra 7, I I stuck so close to the screen accuracy that they came back with only 7 pages of notes. And when I did Ultra Galaxy Mega Monster Battle the movie, I think there was only like 3 pages of notes. And the biggest thing they were particular on was the logo. There was a lot of back and forth with the logo because, and I'll show you the shirt right now. It's not the official shirt, but like for example, the Ultraman shirt, right? If you look on top, I'm not giving you the finger. I just used the wrong finger there. Anyway, if you look on top, it says Ultraman on top and then the Japanese below it. Now, when I made that other design for Mega Monster Battle, they wanted that little Ultraman in English on top of the logo. And because I tend to work with, I basically design my pieces around the Japanese text and sort of work up from there, because I sort of like where the text on the bottom sort of anchors the piece. It's in a lot of my work. It's hard to miss. And with that piece, I had to explain to them that I start from that text on the bottom and work my way up with the design. But the way they wanted me to write it, the Ultraman was like blocking Father of Ultra. And it's hard to describe without the piece, but and we went back and forth. I made it smaller, I made it bigger, and they were like, look, we can't waver on this. Like, it has to be this. So I had to like go back in and change it. And then I put like this sort of airbrushy like lighting effect behind it. And they requested that I change it like 4 or 5 times. So can you make it this or that? And it was crazy. Like, that's what they were finicky. That was like what they were finicky on that piece. Because all the ultras, for the most part, I stuck like super close to the screen costumes, except for Father of Ultra. I had him in like a green hue because the image I used, I think he was on the Land of Light, and it's like this jade green that was sort of bathing his. And I love the lighting stuff, but Subaraya doesn't like any of like the crazy color stuff that I was doing. So they wanted, like, if you're going to do realistic, it has to look realistic. I said, okay. So by the time I did that piece, I knew what to expect with them, and the changes were getting more and more minimal. I just submitted a Tiga Dyna Gaia piece, and I know I messed up the katakana. Like right from the get-go, I knew I messed it up. So I'm kind of curious to know if they're going to point out anything art-wise, because I stuck really, really close to the screen accuracy of the costumes. But it's one of those things where I had to jump through a lot of hoops, had to make a lot of changes. I was hoping to have that first shirt earlier. This sort of happened in October is when I got the license, and I was hoping to have it by late November. And by the time I got it approved, I think it was late December, early January. So I kind of missed a few shows I wanted to debut it at. But I tell you, like, once that first T-shirt hit, man, a ton of them. I mean, I just restocked today. Like, I literally was at my parents' house with my mom. She was helping me in the garage. I was putting everything into storage, and we were just folding all these shirts because I have a bunch of shows coming up, and I have another cool thing is I have these shirts now for sale at bigbadtoystore.com, which is like, so I have to send a box of shirts to those guys, and then I'm trying to get into. I have another announcement to make that I won't make until Friday, but let's just say it's another retailer that I'm really excited to partner with. They're a really, really cool guy, runs the website, and I don't want to say anything else. But anyway, I'll make that announcement on Friday. But yeah, it's definitely, again, you're messing with somebody else's baby, so they're going to have a lot of opinions. And honestly, if it was my property, I'd have a lot of opinions as well. So that's basically the gist of it. Hopefully I answered your question and gave you a little bit extra there.
No, it's not as simple as it's like, you just say, well, this is my art style, so you're going to have to just fall in line with it. You're playing with their baby, like you said,
right.
and they love what your art style does to enhance what they've already got in their IP, of course. Right. So you're trying to be, knowledgeable if the roles were reversed, that you would be picky, on someone else and taking on part of your artwork and remaking it in a different style. So that is I can imagine that that comes down to it. I want to talk a little about the website and the shirts and things, and I'll bring up the website, have you kind of guide me through it. We'll get some more chats in here. Speaking of Godzilla fan freaks, Everett, good to have you.
What's up, Everett?
And then we've got Brendan from Autistic Lizard Productions going to be on his show here soon too. So awesome. Good to have you guys. And of course, Chris is still in the chat. And I definitely encourage you guys to check out Robo7, and we're going to get you the chance during the stream to promote yourself and all your social outlets. But let's bring up probably the best place to start with is Robo7.com, correct? Robo7, the number.
Yes, the number.
Yes. All right. We're going to bring that up. I'm not as fast on this trigger, but I think I can get, there's your Chrome tab. And we've got Robo7, the number.com. Great place to start. And there we are, the official licensed Ultraman shirts and posters. So this has all been obviously approved, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
All right. And then, of course, we can see some of your other work that you've done. And it's just beautiful. I've got some of this already, so this is beautiful. So best thing we can do is perhaps let me switch over to the Etsy store, unless you'd like me to go somewhere else.
No, in fact, you could just click right there and where it says shop now, and it'll take you right there.
Okay. Probably right in the same tab then.
Yeah.
There we are. Okay. So if I want me an Ultraman shirt, there it is. Very affordable, $30. And if I can get a poster, and you can get $40 on that. Very nice. And so you've got some of your other artwork here on Etsy.
Yeah.
And so, if I was to go ahead and purchase something like this, it opened it up in a new tab. Probably shipping's probably not too bad on a t-shirt, right?
No, it's, around $7. It's kind of cool because, when I look at my Etsy, I don't see those little things where it says 20 people have this in their cart. So now I'm looking at it and see it for the first time. I'm like, come on, you 20 people, just buy the damn thing already. So because I have a show this weekend, and I might, knock on wood, I'll sell like 30 or 40 shirts, and I'm afraid of like running out by the time they order it. So
exactly right.
Yeah.
Nice. But so it's if you're in the US or probably even North America, the shipping's not much at all for a t-shirt, so definitely pick yourself up a t-shirt. What's the poster size?
Poster size is 18 by 24, and the paper is like a beautiful matte archival paper. It's pretty much the stuff that Mondo uses, Bottleneck Gallery, Spoke Art, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, excellent. So no expense spared, and of course you can get your t-shirts in your different sizes. They have even like kid sizes, I think. I go from small up until 3XL. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. So check out Robo7.com and on John Bellotti Jr. on Etsy here. And you also mentioned Big Bad Toy Store, right? So is the best place to perhaps go is right here on Etsy.
Yes, if you want to support me directly, this is the best way to do it. And I will say the more that people support it directly, the more chances people will have to have more officially licensed Ultraman shirts from myself.
Excellent. Good. Yeah. So you can go to Big Bad Toy Store. It's out there, which kind of brings a new audience, I think, to you. They, order a couple of boxes from you and they'll have their markup. But supporting you directly, I'd encourage Kaiju fans that are here, especially head right to the store here and check out what you got. And soon enough, we'll be seeing some of the new art, which I'll go to your Facebook page and bring up some of the new art that you're working on. But right now, we've got the general Ultraman with all the foes attached to it. I guess was there was there stipulations on how many of the kaiju that you could include?
No, there was no stipulation. Actually, they were really good about that. They love the work. They really did. And they appreciated it. And I think one of the comments I read was, we can tell he loves the property or something like that. Like, I'm a huge fan. And I said, yeah, that's why I'm doing it. But they were very, very happy with it. And they're really thrilled with what I was able to do. And Jeff Gomez, shout out to him, and EJ of Ultraman Connection, they did a few write-ups on me of the original, when I did the original shirt release in Ultra 7. and they were sort of asking me like, why did you pick the kaiju that you did? And basically, when you're doing a shirt like that, you want the most iconic kaiju on there, right? Like you're not going to do Alien Bolton. I'm probably mispronouncing his name from the original Ultraman. Like most people don't recognize him, but they recognize Red King or Gamora or Baltan or Giros, of course, or Pigmon. List goes on and on. And the same with Ultra 7. Ultra 7, I went with the iconic ones. And I threw a few little random ones in there, like Iron Rocks. I mean, it's a battleship. It's bananas. Like, how do you not put that in? And Dino Tank. Like, Dino Tank is just totally crazy, but I had to put it in there because I love it. And my wife asking me what it was, when I had to explain it to her, she had like no idea what a dinosaur tank was. I said, you know what? That's awesome. Most people don't know what it is.
Yeah. In some cases, it's like the more obscure, the better. Now I can tell you. Now I've got your attention. I can tell you about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Sit down, get comfortable. I'm going to tell you all about it. So check out the Facebook page here. And so you've got a work in progress. Tell me about this.
So Tiga Gaia, the 90s, the Heisei era, some argue that it's the best stuff. Me personally, Gaia is my second favorite Ultraman show behind Ultra 7. The 90s stuff is fantastic. I think they really, I understand why they had to sort of reinvent Ultraman because they were in that lawsuit with Chayo for so long, that in the 90s they sort of had to reinvent the character for them, so that's something that Chayo couldn't really steal from them. At least this is what I'm gathering just from observation. So the TDG trilogy was so unique and so ahead of its time that I was just really excited to want to pay homage to it, especially in a t-shirt form, because there really isn't a lot of representation of the series here in the States. And eventually I'd love to do Ultraman Max, Ultraman Nexus, Mebius. In fact, I have a shirt designed with all the Heisei characters, with Tiga in the middle, and then it's Max. I think I actually forgot Cosmos. Now that I'm thinking about it, I forgot to put Cosmos in it, but I have everyone in there. And anyway, but this shirt, of course, I misspelled Tiga. I forgot to put a character there, and then there's the Japanese characters below the logo that I messed up a little bit. And I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of notes with that stuff. And I'm still sort of tweaking the design a little bit. But so far, the reception has been really good. And I'm really excited. Like, I can't wait to get it out there. My goal is to hopefully have this shirt ready by August, because I'll be going to Japan World Heroes in Burbank in August 18th to the 20th. First time doing it. And the actor that starred in Ultraman Gaia is going to be there. So what better way to go there than rolling in with the shirt with his character on it, So we'll see. Hopefully I can, get all the notes out of the way and have it done by then. We'll see.
And he was in the Ultraman suit?
He was not in the suit. He played his human host.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Very cool though. I mean, that is pretty awesome to be able to roll in there with some artwork from the character that he's playing there. And I mean, I love the fact that we go back to Ultraman and we see the things that we even expect in our figures. We have folds in the outfit, and you represented that here, right, because we've come to expect that. One of my first Ultramans was The Great, or Towards the Future, because it was, on TV when I was a kid. And the outfit was a spandex kind of outfit, very tight fitting.
Right.
It didn't have that fold to it, any of those wrinkles or folds to it. Not wrinkles, I shouldn't say, but just like the Godzilla suit, we know, in the classic series, we expect our X Plus figures and all that to have those suitimation kind of feel to it. So I guess that's probably kind of a no-brainer for a true Ultraman fan. Is the expectation is that it's going to be there in the artwork.
I've heard comments like complimentary comments about the folds, and I think even EJ from Ultraman Connection, he was, when I first met him and we were looking at my art, and he was laughing. He was like, "You have the folds in the kaiju suits." And I mean, I go back and forth with Ultraman because I'm sort of like, do I want to make him more stylized, where, kind of like Shin Ultraman, where there were really no folds because that was his body. And with the suits, I mean, that's kind of the charm of the show, right? I mean, having these folds. And like me personally, like I love drawing drapery and folds and clothing that casts shadow. And I just feel that it's just part of the aesthetic of all of this stuff, and the charm of it is showing that and showing it for what it is. And people do comment on it, and they do appreciate it. So
No, I very much appreciate it. And I know you as a fan of Ultraman and the Ultra series, I should say, because Robo7 is essentially you've taken from one of your favorite series, the Seven,
right.
From Ultra 7. So is that the one of the series of Ultra that you gravitate towards, or is there one that you more or less have on replay a lot?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, obviously, yeah, the Robo7, that's where the 7 came from. That's the origin of it. But 7 was, so like you, I grew up with Towards the Future. Like that was my first exposure. And then I remember reading about this character, Ultra 7, in all these like Japanese fanzines when I was a kid. And I kept hearing how good the show was and how adult it was. And I sort of became fascinated with him because he looks different than all the other Ultras, especially at the time. And this was like the 90s, I think, when I don't even think Tiga was out when I first discovered Ultra 7. So he became this sort of myth to me, like this great white buffalo, so to speak. And I remember going into Chinatown in Manhattan, and they had the Heisei Ultraman on VHS, and I bought a few. And I was like, okay. And then I remember they had the Showa era. They had a few episodes, and the one I had was with Alien Nurse. That's that like serpent robot looking kaiju. And again, I was like, I was like, okay, I guess this is a good show. It's kind of weird. And it wasn't until they released I don't want to say the officially licensed Ultra 7 DVD box set, but it was an Ultra 7 box set that came out on DVD, and I bought it and I watched them all, and I realized how good that show really was. I mean, they were like mini art films. Like the Metron episode is one of my favorite episodes of any Ultra series ever. And I realized quickly that this is one of the best shows I've ever watched. And whenever it comes on, I watch tokusatsu a lot. And whenever it comes on, I get sucked in, and I could sit there. They'll have Ultraman Taro, Leo, 80, and even Return of Ultraman. It's on, and I sort of pay attention. But 7 always just sucks me in with their camera work and cinematography. And sometimes Ultra 7 shows up at the end, and it's like he almost ruins the episode because it's so well written. And always, I mean, anytime, it could be any part of the episode, and I just jump in. And Ultraman Gaia and Nexus are two other ones where if they're on, I get sucked in. Even Mebius to an extent, Mebius and Max. But 7 is the one that just, any episode, I just get sucked right into it.
Yeah, and it's so catchy too. My kids, anytime the number 7 comes around, it's always 7, 7, 7. So
yeah. When I started watching it, my wife at the time, she went back to school, and we had a small, I mean, like a one bedroom apartment. It was like 536 square feet. I remember this because we sold it anyway. So I remember like I'd be in the living room that connected to the kitchen where she was studying, and 7 would come on, and then the theme song would come on, and then she would start singing it, and she would come in and like look at it and watch it with me, and she would say, "Oh, I like Dan because he looks like a real man." And then Mebius came on, and she said, "I don't like this guy. He looks kind of like feminine. Like Dan looked like a real man. This guy looks like a child. I don't like him. I like Ultra 7." So she's sort of down with Ultra 7, right, babe? She just shook her head no. Anyway, so she's sort of down with Ultra 7. She would always sing the theme song, and it's a catchy theme song. I mean, it's no "Take Me Higher" from Ultraman Tiga, which is like the greatest theme song of any show ever. But no, it's a catchy song, and it's funny because it's almost like a very childlike song, but the episodes were so dark and serious, which was kind of like they were hiding this X-Files like TV show within the frame of like a kid's show, which is sort of mind blowing when you think about it.
It is a good, just like the Ultra Q is a X-Files kind of monster of the week like show, without an Ultra, without a big, cyborg protector, I guess you could say. But having ultraseven being that kind of hybrid of that. And that actually brings to mind the fact that we had Shin Ultraman and we had Gomez, in it. And we had, I guess, was your kind of overall reaction to the Shin Ultraman positive, negative, and that's okay either way? We can still be friends at the end of this if you liked it or didn't like it.
No, I absolutely loved it. I mean, they took all the funny tropes of the series, like his secret identity and alien invasions, and they just made fun of it in a way that was tongue in cheek. But it's like, of course, somebody would figure out that he's Ultraman. I mean, the way they found it out, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And the aliens teaming up with the government, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense. But I loved it. If I had a criticism, I would say that it was predictable and that it sort of followed the pattern of the original show. So if you've seen the original show, the original series, it sort of followed the same story beats. So the element of surprise wasn't there. And it's the same thing with Kamen Rider and Shin Godzilla. Because Shin Kamen Rider, it's fun, but it sort of follows the same story beats as the show. So it's sort of predictable in that way. But that was really my only real negative of Shin Ultraman, was just the predictability of it. And I'm noticing even with the anime, I don't know if you've watched season 2 of the anime, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you know the Ultraman mythos, if you watch the original series, it sort of follows that. So I'm noticing like a trend with Ultraman where they're sticking a little too close to those original story beats. But I loved it. The action was unbelievable. I love how human Ultraman becomes throughout the movie, and human in the regards that he understands humanity and he really wants to protect it. And there's that great shot of him sort of when they sort of trick Zarab, not Zarab, is a Mephiles at the there's like a press conference for Mephiles and like the president's there, and they trick him. And when that's all said and done, you see Ultraman sort of kneeling down, looking at the human protagonist, and he sort of just like nods his head, and he's with them. You feel like he's with them. And some of the shows, like especially the early Ultra shows, like they would just show up, beat the piss out of a kaiju, and just fly away, and barely acknowledge the humans. But they did a really, really good job in this movie of bringing Ultraman down to more of like a human level, which I really liked a lot. And from what I understand, Shinji Higuchi wants to do a trilogy, and apparently the third movie he wants to do as Ultra-7. So I'm like beyond excited for that one.
And I'll get back to Shin Ultraman and some more of your thoughts here in a second. We'll get some chats in here. I definitely want people to check out his Facebook page because there's a lot of great stuff on there. Robo7, Art of John Pilati. Charlie Redmond, I don't know if you're familiar with Charlie. He wants me to read his comment, and I did. I don't know. I did it. There's Everett. Dino Tank. Dino Tank is absolutely the best. Dinosaurs plus a tank. What's not to love?
Exactly.
We're with you. We got Tiga is his favorite Ultraman. So it's definitely a fan favorite.
Yeah, Tiga's awesome. Hey, what's up, Walter? How you doing?
Walter, got him in the house. Been a while. Good to have you.
My friend. Has been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and if you're just joining us, John Bellatti's got some great new Ultraman officially licensed merch. So I guess before we get to Shin, because we were talking about the merch there for a second, is the work in progress that you've got. Obviously, the official licensed poster and T-shirt that's out there on Etsy is available, ready to rock. I guess, is there kind of a timeline for the is the Ultra-7, I guess, coming soon? Is that what it's?
Oh no, Ultra-7 is here.
It's here, so it's on your Etsy as well.
It's also on my Etsy, yeah.
Okay, there it is. I just had to scroll down. Duh.
It's okay. Yeah, he's here and he's ready to rock.
All right, awesome. And so you can get that all ready to go. and then the later on is the triple that you got, your work in progress, the Tiga Dyna, and which was the other? Sorry, Gaia.
Ultraman Gaia.
Yes,
Yeah.
excellent. So, is there a timeline kind of on that, or just whenever you can get her done?
I'm trying. Well, again, it depends on what kind of notes I get back from Superaya. But basically, I'm hoping to have it done and ready to go by the time I do Japan World Heroes in August. I do have another one designed. I mentioned it earlier. It's Mega Monster Battle Ultra Galaxy the movie, which is the first appearance of Ultraman Zero. So that one's approved. My plan was to release that in July, but then when I signed on for Japan World Heroes and saw that the human host of Ultraman Guy is going to be there, I said, oh, okay, let me maybe flip that and do this shirt instead of that shirt. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I have to move other shirts to make space for anything new. So that's my plan. So the next two shirts, hopefully within the next 2 or 3 months or so.
And maybe I was missing it on your Facebook here. Was there a monochrome design that you were working on as well?
Yeah, it was the Tiga Dyna Gaia piece. I was just curious to see what it would look like monochromatic, and I might do a variant. I don't know. Maybe do it as a silk screen. But I also wanted to open up the forum to suggestions from Ultraman fans. They could also either comment on my posts or they can email me what kind of shirts they would want to see. And, I did have an idea of doing all the Ultra Brothers like in one piece. Like I have that piece I did as a commission for someone. It hasn't been released yet, but I have permission to use it, but I don't want to release it until they have their product out, and then I could sort of release it. But so that was one idea I had, just doing the Ultra Brothers. Another one was sort of doing like individual kaiju, like a Baltan shirt, or I want to do like a Zeton shirt. But, if someone says, can you do Ultraman 80? I might not do that one because there's not really a big demand for Ultraman 80. And, when you get specific with Ultraman, because he's not a household name yet here in the States, I sort of have to swing big and I have to do this sort of, I don't want to say expected stuff, but I need to do the popular stuff before I do anything more obscure. So, I would love to do Ultraman Nexus because it's like my third favorite series, but I don't know if people really want to buy that. So maybe I do like a Nexus shirt with other Ultra and sort of combine them all. So that's sort of what I'm doing with Tiga Dyna Gaia. But if there is, so Godzilla fan freaks, there is a Tiga piece I have planned with Golza and all the Ultra Kaiju that I was going to do that, but it's so big. It's sort of similar to what I have. So it would be Tiga in the middle and then all the Kaiju surrounding him. But it would just take too long, and I really wanted to do a Tiga Dyna Gaia piece first. And eventually I'll do like a solo Tiga piece because he's, very popular here in the States. So that's like, I know that would be a very popular piece. But if there's like something people want to see, feel free to reach out. I conducted a poll on Facebook a while ago, and Tiga Dyna Gaia and Tiga were at the top of the list, followed by the Ultra Brothers. Not so much love for Ultraman Max. I don't know why. Ultraman Max is awesome. The same thing with Mebius. It was like crickets for Mebius and Nexus. So again, like I said, someone said, oh, you should do like Ultraman Taro or a Leo. And I said, yeah, but I have to have like a minimum amount of shirts made up. I can't just do, 10 shirts because for the 10 people that want it, I have to do, I have to think bigger and make bigger orders. So. But yes, but anybody, if you guys can all reach out to me, tell me what you want to see, even if it's like more old school Ultraman stuff, maybe like, I thought about doing like just a solo of like the original Ultraman and like Ultra7, maybe do something like that. I want to do something like this where it just says like, the katakana, like this is Ultra7. But again, that's if people want it. I have to make the stuff and I have to sell it. So it has to sort of be, I mean, I hate being like, I wish I could do, just like a Golza or just like a Dino Tank shirt. And maybe there is something to that. I don't know. I have to make it and see what happens. Right.
Yeah. And I was going to say because I actually still do love Towards the Future. It has its, its silliness of what it is. But since it was my first, I kind of always do gravitate towards it for the nostalgia factor. I do love that it takes place in Australia, and I think that's very cool. That international cast. I've always loved that design of his pendant. Just to mix things up with Ultraman, that he doesn't just have to have the circle in the middle, that he can have it as a pendant. Of course, that gives away, just like you said about the show. He's the Clark Kent that everyone doesn't know that's Superman. You got to be kidding me. Right. The dude, Jack Shindo's wearing the pendant that Ultraman's wearing.
I haven't watched that show in so long that I never picked up on it, but that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Well, even at one point they confiscate it from him, and it's like, dude's Ultraman. Come on, haven't you figured this out yet?
There was an Ultraman Gaia. There's a pretty clever way that they do it, where he's part of like their Earth Defense Force, the human host. His name is Gamu. He's a young genius, and when he's flying into battle, he would do this thing where he would turn his fighter jet into autopilot mode and then jump out, but you could tell but there was the guy, his superior, he sort of knew he was Ultraman for a while but just didn't say anything, and he kind of kept it quiet, but so that was a clever way. And then Ultraman Nexus was, the host wasn't part of the science team or the defense team, so it didn't matter. But some of these shows, it's the guy's in the with them, and then he just keeps disappearing, and then all of a sudden Ultraman appears where the guy just ran to. It's kind of like what is it? What's going on here? So
and there was that's that whole Clark Kent and Superman never together. No one's ever figured this out. Peter Parker, at least Peter Parker took pictures of the dude, and it's like, yeah, see, I couldn't take pictures of him.
Right.
So anyways, transitioning to Shin Ultraman, first, I guess, did you see it in subtitled or with the dub, and then kind of your first reaction right off the bat from it?
So I saw it, and a thank you to Chris Olio, but we had tickets to its United States premiere at Lincoln Center, and Shinji Higuchi was there, and the producer was there. So they did this whole great Q&A. So I saw it in a packed theater with all these fans. And, when those moments of humor hit on the screen, we all laughed, and we were all just in sort of amazement. And I just remember listening to the Q&A and just taking pictures, and just it was so much fun. And they asked Higuchi if he would do Gamera again, and he said no. He's like, no. They said, would you do a Heisei Gamera or a Shin Gamera? And he said, I already did that with the Heisei series, the trilogy. And he said, let somebody else do it. However, if nobody wants to do it, I'd happily do Shin Gamera. But yeah, and then it was interesting because in the beginning of the screening, I think it was the beginning, he came out with the producer and his interpreter, and he apologized before the film screened because of how he portrayed the Western worlds. So I expected it was interesting. So we were all expecting another Shin Godzilla where they sort of villainized the West and America, not France and Germany. They seem to really like France in that movie. Yeah, they really like France. So yeah, he came out with that disclaimer, and I thought that was really interesting. But if you watch the movie, there really isn't anything like that in there. And then at the Q&A, he touched upon it as well, but no one really, no one felt that it was insulting, which was kind of interesting. So
if it was in the subtext, I didn't pick up on it either. Someone might need to explain it to you and I, because I'm not. It's not. I guess it's not as maybe as blatant as Shin Godzilla was, and even in Shin Godzilla, I didn't think it was slap in your face kind of insulting, if you will, or even a jab. That I don't disagree with maybe the feelings of the the idea of the self-defense force and reliant upon America for a lot of their defense and for a lot of their needs. So I guess I don't, seeing it from the Japanese perspective is actually a good thing for us Western audience members to absorb, I think, and see that. So I guess I didn't pick up on it either. So interesting that you say that. But that had to have been, for your first screening, to be there with Higuchi and with the Q&A, with more than what I had, which was literally a small theater, and we saw it in in the subtitled version,
Right.
and was my son and I, and had a blast. I mean, just amazing time, even if it was a small audience. But yeah,
I mean, I'm sort of lucky because I was born and raised in New York, and same thing with Shin Kamen Rider. When I saw it, the U.S. premiere was at Japan Society, which is right by the United Nations, and I couldn't. I was supposed to go that night for the premiere, and Toei was there, and all these reps from Toei were there, and there was like this red carpet event. But they reached out to me, and they said, "Hey, would you mind coming 2 days later? We're going to do a smaller screening because we sold out." So we were the second group of people in the United States to catch the U.S. premiere, which is kind of cool too. It was, it wasn't a sold out theater, but it was sort of like an invite only, and they comped us some tickets. They were really nice about it, so I was really excited to see it. They did like a little summary before the movie, and the guy that did the summary was saying stuff like, "I don't even know what this movie's about, but I'm going to work the projector, and we're going to find out together what this movie's about." But no, it's funny about Shin Ultraman is like I saw it in July for the premiere, and then when New York Comic Con came around, they offered me free tickets again to go see it in Midtown, and I want to say Bin Furuya was there, but I could be completely mistaken. And they offered me tickets, but I couldn't make it, but I gave them to my friend, so he saw it. So that was like the second premiere or something like that. And then obviously the premiere was in January, right?
January 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool, like getting to see this movie before anybody else did. And with Higuchi, it was, again, thank you, Chris. He's the one that hooked me up. And unfortunately, he got COVID from G-Fest and he couldn't go. So I basically went by myself. But my friend Raymond of Muteki Toys was there, and Andrew Wong and Jeff Gomez. And it was great. It was great. It was like all the New York Ultra fans were there. It was a packed house. And when I saw Shin Godzilla, I saw it in this theater with my buddy in Brooklyn, and it was like 4 people in this giant theater, and it was just like dead silence. And I was like, that kind of blows. But when I saw it the second time, it was in New Jersey, and the theater was packed with Godzilla fans. It was so much fun. Considering a movie that spends most of its time in boardrooms with tons of dialogue, having like the fans around you, like laughing and like cheering, it made it so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank definitely Everett for your comment there. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's liking this and subscribing and all of that. And of course, Chris, there he is. Yeah, missed the screening, but I'm sure he was glad that you got to go in his place, right?
Yes, my happiness was his happiness.
Yes, and he's had the chance to see it in the meantime and all that. And it's so funny. Yeah, there were a lot of premieres happening. I think there was one obviously in New York. There was Chicago. I just didn't get the chance to, so I was so happy to see that the Fathom events were going to carry it, and got to experience that with my son. And if you're watching, and if you've been seeing some of my other shows out there, viewers out there, that's the very day that I was started coming down with this pseudo gout issue that I'm dealing with, and so I was in a lot of pain dealing with that. But what was cool is, even though that was happening, we had a great experience. We were laughing, like you said, even a small theater, we're laughing at the humor. He's calling out the kaiju. He knows them by name better than I do, and just loving that. And it's like, yeah, this is a great movie. We're going to the hospital after this is over. But and then the next day, Jeff Gomez makes our picture of each other the thumbnail for the article on the Fathom events, and I was just like, dude, thank you. I was like,
cool. Jeff's a great guy. I love Jeff to death.
Oh yeah, and the fact that he is such a fan himself.
Really. Yeah. He actually helped me out with the license, and offered his assistance if there's any issue. He's been really good. I mean, and plus he's a local boy like myself, so he's been great.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And he's just, I mean, you can tell when you talk to him his passion for it. It's not just business for him. It is a passion. It really digs down deep into his heart.
Yeah, they're doing, I got to admit, sort of going back to jumping through hoops with Superaya, as much of a pain as it was, they're doing a great job so far of fan outreach over here and connecting with people. And Jeff and those guys are such a great fixed point for the fans to gravitate towards because he is a fan. Whereas, Godzilla, it's a little more, how best to put it? It's not corporate. It's not cold. They just don't have that person. They don't have that face over here just yet. I'm hoping they do. And I think the person that they had, unfortunately, I think they let go recently. And, there are a lot of changes at Toho. And I will say I may or may not have spoken to Toho a few weeks ago. But,
okay.
Yeah. So they have a sort of bigger plan with Godzilla, and they, where Toho wants to have their stuff on like bags of Dole lettuce, like Star Wars was doing when Force Awakens came out. I remember they had like Kylo Ren on a bag of iceberg lettuce, hot sauce, and just whoever wants the license that sort of has a big following, they do it. Where Subaraya, they're sort of like a well-manicured boutique. And what I really like about them is that if I came back with like $2 worth of royalties, they would still hold on to me because they appreciate what I'm doing. And hopefully that continues because they really do appreciate their licensors. It's really interesting how much they care. And I think that goes back to Subaraya himself. I think the way he's formed that company and the sort of personality he gave it, because Subaraya was an artist, and I think they put the art first, where Toho is, well, it's Toho. They're a very big corporate entity. Not saying Subaraya is a corporation, because they clearly are, but they do appreciate all their licensees, and they've been really great about that stuff. So it's, like I said, having Jeff as like our spokesperson and being so accessible, I mean, it's great. It's absolutely great. And from what I understand, there's bigger plans for Ultraman in the States. That's about the most I'll say about it.
Well, and yeah, having him with the Ultraman Connection site and what's happening with, like tokusatsu, Shout Factory, and Mill Creek making these accessible on physical media, that's the trending towards what we like. We want to start bringing these home, and taking them home with us. And so Shin Ultraman, putting it out there, and it's a great conversation starter. I even talked to my pastor about the experience my son and I had seeing Shin Ultraman, and he's like, Ultraman, never heard of him. I got to look into this Ultraman thing. And I'm like, yes, you do. Absolutely. Open up the door for more than just our Marvel superheroes or our DC superheroes. I think we need a new legacy of in a cinematic universe, if you will, of a sense of the giant monsters duking it out. With Shin Ultraman, was any of the kaiju and the fights or any of that surprising? The designs of any of the kaiju surprising to you?
Oh yeah, is it Gabora? Right, the Gaboras with the that was like yeah. And somebody pointed out that his face looks like an angel from Evangelion, and they did like a side-by-side comparison. I said, oh crap, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah.
And I drew that angel too in a piece. I did like an Asuka, she's in the red Eva, and I drew the angel, and someone did the side-by-side. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't pick up on that. What's the other one? Mephiles was another one that was pretty out there. It was interesting because Mephiles was so out there, as well as Gabora, but then Zarab was pretty close to what he looked like. And of course, Zeton was totally like the silhouette was there, but it was so different, and the way they used Zeton was kind of cool. Who else do we have? Naranga was cool. I think that was pretty close to what we had. And of course, Jiras. I mean, come on. That was cool.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting, like how they did like the giant bird looked pretty close to what it was, and Pagila and the snail. I always think I forgot, not Kanigan, but the snail from Ultra Q. Like they stuck pretty close to the original designs.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Mephiles was really out there. I was really surprised how far they took it in a different direction.
And I do like the idea that we get the Zoffy going on in there. Yes, same design, just different color, but that communication that Ultraman in the original series was having with more of his leadership of where he comes from, right, and his origin story outside of Earth. And I think that really cool. And there's almost a Christopher Nolan kind of idea there of the some of the blurring of the lines of the good and the bad, and what's moral for Ultraman to do, how self-sacrificial he can be for humanity. I think, yeah, it's not just simply the superhero fighting the bad guy.
Right. It sort of reminded me of that great Alan Moore Superman comic where he posed this question of, is Superman actually helping humanity, or is he holding it back by doing everything for them? And it's sort of like Ultraman, right? Like, is he helping humanity or is he harming them? And they do that really well in the manga. They sort of look at Ultraman as they're doing more harm than good by pruning the universe of like kaiju and aliens. And they look at them as almost like oppressors than anything, which is a really interesting take on it. And that was a great conversation that Ultraman has with Zoffy. And the other thing I really liked too was that they gave Ultraman a name, Lipia. And they asked Higuchi during the Q&A, like, where did that name come from? And he said, well, I wanted it to sound alien, so we found like the most random name, and we like Googled it over and over to make sure that it had no like ties to humanity whatsoever. And I love that they call, like, Zoffy calls him Lipia and not Ultraman, because that's what humanity names him. And so yeah, that was a pretty cool little touch. And like I said, they did a lot of great stuff in there, like the name, and then him sacrificing himself. And it was kind of crazy that they killed the human host, not the human host, but they killed him when he's trying to save the boy in the beginning, and he dies, and Ultraman, out of guilt, assumes his identity. But then at the end, he gives him his life back, correct? That was the whole point of the ending, was I need to give him his life back. And he always went and like visited his corpse and sort of paid tribute to him. But yeah, no, that was a great callback to the original series. It was a sort of same conversation they had with Zoffy at the end of that show as well.
Yeah, and just even thinking of him, like you were talking about, they were after something that was alien and more out of this world. So even the stretchy kind of design to what Ultraman is. They did some mocap with Bin Furuya, but he's not wearing the suit. He's, performing the moves and all that. Even a man in his late 70s or early 80s, I forget. Maybe he's in his mid 80s. I don't remember, but he's quite up there, but in physically great shape to do this. But they stretched him out to make him look more alien, like what we would think of as like the thin grays, I guess you could say. And I remember August Ragone kind of pointing these kinds of things out, and I'm like, yeah, he's definitely more out of this world, but still looks like the familiar Ultraman we're used to. And they didn't go like with Shin Godzilla, such a vastly different design from what we're already used to, and coloration and all of this. And I love that what they did with it. And even with the ending, kind of ending like with that thud that they did, leaving you wanting more. And I love when movies do.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting too, because when Ultraman first arrives, he's just gray and silver. And if you look at his face, he has the Type A, the Type A face. You see it when he sort of rises out of the dust, and he's got like the little wrinkle on the side here that the suit actually had as well. And then if you watch his face closely, like his face actually changes to the Type C suit throughout, like, by the time he changes into like he puts the red stripes on. And I thought that was a really cool thing. I didn't catch it until I asked the licensing group for images from Shin Ultraman because I would like to do a Shin Ultraman shirt. And they sent all these images, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, he has like this, the little, it's like this like weird little wrinkle that he has when they made that original costume. So that was like a great touch. And same thing with Shin Kamen Rider. They, again, with appearances, like he looks like he did from the original series, where, like you said, Shin Godzilla was so different than what we were used to, which is why I'm not. It's weird because I like that design when I see it in like a small Sofubi, but I don't really like it on the screen. Like, I have no love for that design at all, which is unfortunate because the movie's not. It's not that bad. I do like the movie. I just don't like the design, and that kind of hurts it for me.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it's like sometimes when they take risks like that, it's going to be hit or miss. And I think when they put Shin attached to it, now I think they've gotten away from the stigma of thinking it's going to look like Shin Godzilla. It's going to look like this, for lack of better words, death metal version of Ultraman or Kamen Rider. It's not. They didn't do that. They didn't go that direction with him. But with Godzilla, yeah, they did. Obviously go in a completely, different way. But yeah, it's does it work in the movie or not? That's obviously up for debate. But I want to make sure that as we kind of close up here, that people can follow you. Where's the best place to follow you and all your social outlets to keep up with the news that's happening from your artwork?
I would say Instagram, which is at Robo7, but it's spelled out ROBOSEVEN.
Mm-hmm.
And, Facebook, I mean, people friend me on Facebook, and at this point, I use my page as mostly for my artwork, but I have a Facebook art page. It's at Robo7 Art, so it's ROBO7ART. So those are the two best places to find me.
Okay, I'll make sure that I get it in here to make sure that everyone sees. So on Instagram, obviously, we want to see images of the artwork. So at Robo7, all spelled out.
Yeah, that's the best place because that's where my most up to date. Like, you see all my work in progress stuff, all the shows I do.
Any shows coming up here in the near future?
I have 5 Points Festival this week in Brooklyn, New York. The following week, me and Seismic Toys will be making an appearance at Japan Society, who have teamed up with the Tribeca Film Festival for a special screening of Destroy All Monsters. So we'll be there for that. And I just got my table for Japan World Heroes in Los Angeles in late August. So those are the next 3 things I have coming up.
Okay, and so yeah, in the immediate future, 5 Points, is that over the weekend or during the week too?
This weekend in Brooklyn.
Okay, very awesome. That's always a big show. So awesome to see that, and I imagine your artwork appears at some other places where Seismic may show up, or other places where you might not be able to attend in person.
Right. Yeah. I Seismic carries my prints, and Otaku America also carries my prints. So, and they do really well with them. He always sells out, and he always buys new stock. So those are 2 places to find my stuff.
All right. But yeah, obviously go into the Etsy page, get it shipped out to you, and get yourself a poster for the wall. I still love that my office has your 54 Godzilla that you did. I see it every day coming in, and it's just it brings the office together so well. And your artwork, I'm in awe of it, and I love the style that you've got. And you've done commissions for other IP. I remember Aliens is a big one that you've done.
Yeah, I have officially licensed Aliens artwork. I have artwork in the Bernie Wrightson art book, and I also have, believe it or not, there's an officially licensed Ultraman art book coming out that I also have. I submitted my ultraseven piece for that, so that's some more officially licensed work.
Okay, so that art book is going to be distributed worldwide, so we can get a copy.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll go crazy posting links for that when it gets closed. But I think they closed submissions about a month ago, and it'll probably take a few months to get it all approved, and then I'm guessing maybe the fall it'll be released.
All right, excellent. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that because, a book on Ultraman artwork, is just going to be fantastic. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing that, and then seeing your work in progress as it grows and into the officially licensed merch as it goes along. So very good to have you here on the show. I always appreciate what you do, and seeing your passion carry through in your artwork. It's just amazing. And I think people should reach out if they've got a commission. Are you open still for commissions, or are you so slammed with work that you can't?
While I have this license, unfortunately, I think I've had to close the commissions because, I had this license for 2 years and I really want to maximize how much ultra stuff I can do and make it successful enough that when my license is up, I can renegotiate and get it for another 2 years. So that's sort of I'm putting all my focus on Ultraman right now. So if you want a commission, I could recommend a lot of really good artists that I'm friends with, and I'm happy to recommend them. But yeah, unfortunately, my list is closed.
Yeah, but seeing the Ultraman stuff and getting a hold of it to take home, that's definitely going to be great and big to take home with you. So that is awesome. Follow Robo7 out there, Instagram. I know you have a Twitter, Facebook, and of course on the robo7.com, robo7thenumber.com. And so thank you so much. It's been awesome having you here, John Bellotti Jr. Follow him out there and check him out. And we're going to have you back on after maybe you have another officially licensed anything else that you've got coming up in the works, because I know there's some things you can reveal, some things you got to wait on a little bit. But would you be up for another show highlighting some of the new stuff you've got?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, right now it's Ultraman all day, every day. So maybe the next shirt release or something. We'll see. But yeah, I'm always down to come back. Thank you for having me. I love doing this stuff. And
absolutely, yeah.
I always have a blast when I do your show and other shows. So thank you again.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing whatever that Toho thing is. So yeah, you've got me in suspense.
Yeah, I've said too much already, but it's going to be I think it's going to be a little while before that happens. Let's just say Ultraman has to come first for me to do anything else and let's just say I need to get Ultraman as big as possible. So the more I get the shirts out there, the more money I can make. The more I get into retailers, it'll be better for me to get something going with Toho. That's all I'll say.
All right. Very awesome. So again, check him out, everything you've got. And if you're here, like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. We are close to that 100,000 subscriber mark, and get us over the edge. We're just excited. And it's because of the fans that both of us do what we do, because, if you're not out there enjoying the content we're creating, we're just doing this for ourselves. And so it's because of the support, the love and support that we've got out there and the following that it just it makes us enthusiastic for what we do. So again, I see that coming through with your artwork. And again, thank you to all the fans out there. And thank you again, John, for your time. Stick around for just a couple of minutes after we close the show for our proper goodbyes. And we will catch you all for on another episode of the Monster Report Live. Thank you.
Am I doing it right?